Thank you for joining us. My name is Lisa Prin. I'm non-Indigenous. I'm the Manager of Education and Activation for the Downie and Chanie Wenjack Fund. So again, thank you for coming. Before we begin the presentation, I just wanted to acknowledge the land that we're on, no matter where we are. In this beautiful country, we are on Indigenous land. So I just want to take a moment to encourage everyone to think about that and what that means to you personally. We are on the traditional territories of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people throughout this land. So as we're on this journey of reconciliation together, I really encourage you to learn about local Indigenous history and culture, as well as appreciating the land and the animals and the air we breathe. So thank you again. I also just want to take a moment and recognize that the Wenjack and Downie families have given us permission to share the stories of their relatives. I just want to make sure that that is at the forefront of what we're doing. That came about at our Educator Advisory Committee last year, and we wanted to recognize that. So during this webinar, we're going to be looking at what the Legacy Schools program is. So because some of you are very new to this program and may have gotten your toolkits and be wondering, okay, what do I do now? So we're going to look at how to use these resources in your classroom. We're going to actually look at why we get booster kits. So every September, you'll get updated resources. We'll be hearing from some educators from throughout the country who are going to share what they've been doing in their own schools and districts and communities. And we'll look at those examples from throughout Canada and then what other resources are available. And at the end, there'll be time for questions and answers. So the pillars of our fund are to build awareness. And with that comes education and then connections, building those connections so we can all move reconciliation forward together in meaningful ways. The Downie and Chanie Wenjack Fund's mission is to inspired by Chanie's story and Gore's call to action to build a better Canada. We're working toward a path of reconciliation together. Our hope is to improve the lives of Indigenous peoples, build awareness, education, and connections with all of us. I like to include this quote. So Pearl said of Chanie, "I swore that I would do something about it the day he died. I would not have my brother's death swept under a rug." I think that's just important for us to recognize and understand how important Chanie's experiences and Gore's mission were. So the Legacy Schools program is a free initiative to engage, empower, and connect students and educators from throughout Canada. We provide free resources to teachers from throughout Canada in the hopes that you will either enhance your reconciliation journey or begin it, because many of us were never taught about residential schools when we were growing up, or we may have had experiences that were too hard to teach about. So it's really about providing the supports to help you teach about these important subjects, no matter where you are in your journey. So the program, we actually have over 3,000 educators signed up throughout Canada right now in every province and territory. This is a new map, and we actually had over 600 schools register within the last month. So those new registers, thank you for registering, will be added to the map within the next week. So you can look for your school on our live online at legacyschools.ca, and you'll be able to see yourself reflected in this map of schools that are all working really hard to move reconciliation forward. So the toolkits. So you are going to be receiving a toolkit, and it's full of resources that we update every year through our Educator Advisory Committee. This year's toolkits have a flag, a toque, wristbands, and buttons, depending on when you get them, and a reconciliation guidebook and poster that we update every year with the help of our Educator Advisory Committee. Some of those members are here tonight to present to you. So we look through and we make sure that the resources are relevant and current, and we actually increased them since the program started in 2018 with just 300 schools signing up. We now have over 3,000, and our reconciliation guidebook went from 12 pages to 32 pages. So every year we're adding and expanding and growing with the help of you. So please share your stories with us. Share how we can improve. When you do the surveys, we review them and we look at them, and we want to make sure that we're doing the best work we can, because we're also learning just like you are. We talk about a lot about reconciliACTIONs. Those are after we do the education and awareness pieces, we ask you to take an action to move reconciliation forward. So something meaningful that can bring both Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples in your communities together. So without further ado, I'd like to present to you and introduce Harriet Visitor, DWF Board Member, teacher, and all-around amazing person. So Harriet, please take it away.
Hello, I'm really honored and thankful to be here today. I wanted to just introduce myself. I sit on the board of directors for the Chanie Wenjack Fund. I am the niece of my late Uncle Chanie. I am a liaison for my mother and her sisters. My mother is the matriarch of our Wenjack family. And this picture, I look at this picture and I remember the day this picture was taken. I remember how much and what this picture means, in that I spent a long time wanting to know about my late Uncle Chanie. And I would ask questions every now and then, but I waited until my mother was ready to speak about my late Uncle Chanie. And so we met Gord. I think about how my Uncle Chanie's story came and how Gord coming into our life and what he added to our life. I think it's very important that I share my family experience and share our experiences with the creation and how we came together to create the fund, or how the fund was created, and how our Legacies school project came about. And a lot of it was, Gord's call at his last concert, and how he expressed what he was missing and what he questioned and what was in his heart. And I remember looking at him thinking, I wonder, who is this man? I knew he was the lead singer for the Tragically Hip, but there was just something beyond that I wanted to understand, because when he did the call, he acknowledged us. He acknowledged me as an Indigenous woman, a mother, an educator, and a survivor. And so I really wanted to, know more about him. I think it's, when I think about him, I think about my late Uncle Chanie and what he brought to me. My late Uncle Chanie was a 12-year-old boy who died while running away from the Cecilia Jeffrey Indian Residential School in 1966 in Kenora. My Uncle Chanie grew up in Ogoki Post for the first 9 years of his life with his parents, sisters, and 2 dogs. At the age of 9, he was forced to attend a residential school along with his 3 sisters. At the age of 12, my uncle ran away from the school, attempting to go home, running and trying to get 600 kilometers away, and he never made it. I think of how the story came with Gord writing his poems and getting together with his friends and creating the music for it, creating this graphic novel. And I remember exactly being in this picture. I sat directly down here to the right, at the bottom right, looking at my daughter and my mother and my aunts, and looking at him and Gord in front of us, and how he played the Secret Path graphic novel video, and how it was like the first time seeing an image of my late Uncle Chanie, and just sitting there in just a quietness. Gord came up in, I believe, in September 2016. And I remember everyone that came with him that time. They all were kind of in the back, and they were supportive for Gord and him coming to meet. And we're sitting here actually in my Aunt Pearl's cabin. And you can't see, but this cabin was just crammed full of different people, photographers, videos, Gord's crew, and his brother Pat, and Mike. And I think about how when this so began our journey, our secret path journey with our families. And these are my mother, my Aunt Annie, my Aunt Evelyn, and my Aunt Pearl. These are the surviving members of my late Uncle Chanie's sisters. And I love this picture because it just reminds me how this journey that we walk it together. You know, you're not behind me, you're not in front of me, you're with me. You know, as long as you walk hand in hand and beside each other, and how it is important that we do that, you know, and being able to share. And I know how painful it is to share this as an educator. I experience it myself. And so I think about how I know how painful this is, but I you know, and encourage you to speak from the heart, teach from the heart, reach out to other survivors community, make those connections, those community connections. And, you know, just teach from the heart. When I think about this, I was teaching in a school called Corlancia Public School in Pickle Lake, Ontario. My mother resides in just outside of this community, and we became the first legacy school. I think it was in 2018. And I felt so honored to have this school being the first legacy school. One is because my mom lives in this community. And, you know, and why I felt so honored as well is that this school began my secret path journey, I call it. The support that I've gotten from this school board, and I still teach within this Kuwait and Patricia District School Board, they were supportive of being a legacy school. And even before being a legacy school, they wanted to do something. We're a small school, what can we do to be part of what you're doing? And the support I got from the students to the parents to the admin to the board is just amazing. And then today they're still very much a big support of the work that I do. And I think of these students all the time when I'm teaching and when I'm, you know, sharing my Uncle Chanie's story. This is a video of school in Pickle Lake. Yep, sure the audio is on for this.
144 kilometers away. The Secret Path tells the story of Chanie Wenjack, a 12-year-old Anishinaabe boy who died while fleeing Cecilia Jeffrey Indian Residential School in Kenora, Ontario, to walk home. Chanie's home was 644 kilometers away. Chanie was one of the most approximately 1,500,000 Indigenous children forced to attend government-funded church to operated residential schools that forcibly separated innocent children from their families, communities, and cultures in order to assimilate them. The last residential school wasn't closed.
The Downie and Chanie Wenjack Fund Legacy School Program provides an engaging opportunity for schools to amplify the growing movement of reconciliation in their own communities. We at Corlancia are a legacy school, and we have committed to the work of reconciliation by creating awareness and providing honest, comprehensive, authentic education about residential schools and Indigenous people in Canada.
2 years ago, and thanks to our teacher, Harriet Visitor, who is a member of the Wenjack family, Corlancia School was named the first legacy school in Canada. We have raised over $500 as a donation of the fund. Every year, our students.
Thank you for sharing that. One of the things I want to just thank and remind everyone that you educators, you're an extension of the Wenjack and Downie families in the work that you do. And I want to thank you for that, because I know that, especially with what's been happening since May and the finding of the children at the schools, it's a very, very difficult time. And we as educators speak on those difficult and have those difficult discussions. Our students look for us for making, to understand and to make sense of what they're hearing and seeing. And I want to thank you on behalf of our Wenjack family and our Downie family for the work that you do in reconciliation and in sharing the stories. I currently work at Sioux Mountain Public School with the Kuwait and Patricia District School Board, which sits on Treaty 3. Our school sits on the traditional land of the Obishkikan Anishinaabeg. And we acknowledge that and honor that. I love this display here. This is the vision of a grade 4 teacher in wanting to, we did a walk we wanted to walk the distance, showing our students the distance of Chanie walked, my late uncle walked. And so we marked with the staff would mark the distance that their classes would go. And so we kept tally. And I had this grade 4 teacher, my friend Alicia, asked me, our class will make trees, is what she said. And I said, okay. Well, when she showed and put her display in what she did, my heart was just overwhelmed with the 3D effect of what she created, that we still have it. Not with the railroad tracks and the rocks, because the rocks have gone to my Aunt Pearl and my mom. And I mean, those were heavy rocks, but we kept the display because I just was so, her vision and what her students did. I was just so honored for that. My school board has given me an extra role this year. They call it the Legacy School Project, in collaboration with the cultural relevant responsive pedagogy. What they've given me is I have 2 periods every day just set aside and put for legacy school project work, and working with elders and teachers and doing it throughout the school. And I was so honored and thankful that they did that they created this this new initiative that I bring into the school. And so one of the things that I often do with my students is I make, I call them my Kukum and Shumish fridge magnets. It's all about making connections. And with this, with these magnets, I tell the children that the elders that we see now were the children that attended residential schools. And I remind them how our elders are the most important part of our families and communities, and that our history has always been a big part of having a connection to our elders. And making these, I'll have some of them take it home, but some of them just put it on the side of their desks and they leave it there till they're ready to take it home. But it's just a reminder, and I've had parents reach out and tell me that they really like the fridge magnets that their children bring home. So this is just, I just wanted to show you some things that I have been doing in the school. And, I just wanted to really thank my board for the honor in doing what I'm doing, because it's, having about my Uncle Chanie story and having to have this initiative, I'm so thankful for that. So I'd like to introduce this next speaker, and I've always enjoyed listening to Brad Baker speak. He's a district principal, Indigenous Education and Safe Schools for the North Vancouver School District in British Columbia.
Thank you for the introduction, Harriet, and Nu'a, everybody. Hatsqual Tanoya, Bosia, Minsiait, Sonomon, Koshaman, Ostla, Hokameo, and Chekamatoya, Skohomish, and Tsleil-Waututh. And so I come from the beautiful unceded territories of the Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh people in North Vancouver, British Columbia. And I shared my ancestral name with Sonomot, who I share with my late grandfather and my father. And I'm grateful to be working in the North Vancouver School District at the board office, where I get to oversee and work with all 33 schools in our school district. And I think I also want to acknowledge my father, who's also an Indian residential school survivor. He attended St. Paul's Indian Residential School that was located right here in the city of North Vancouver. And so I think part of the work that we do with the Chanie Wenjack and the Legacy School project is we started on this journey very early as one of the original school districts that came on board. And I think it's important for everyone to understand that our school district is made up of 16,000 students with 650 self-identified Indigenous students. And so a majority of our district are non-Indigenous. So we really believe the toolkits and the philosophy behind the Downie Wenjack fund is very important for all individuals within our community to have a strong understanding. So the way that we use the Legacy Toolkit is we break it into 3 categories, and obviously the students are our number 1 priority, and then educators, staff, principals, QP members, and then also our broader community, which is our parent community, because the one advantage that we have with the Downie family being involved with the fund is that all Canadians know about the tragically hip. And so we were able to use the leverage with the tragically hip and Gord Downie's legacy, and also the legacy of the Indian Residential School here in North Vancouver and Chanie's story to influence the 3 pathways of Indigenous education, as we call it. And we've used the toolkit mainly to collaborate and work side by side with local Indigenous knowledge of the Coast Salish people of whose land we are situated on. That's the Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh. And this is just an example of a hands-on learning opportunity that we've used within the toolkit, but also within the local knowledge of weaving quarter bags. And the reason why we have students and educators have a strong understanding of Chanie's story and the land where he came from, and also with the land that we're situated on, to have students and staff understand that this is a Canadian historical issue that has to be discussed. That goes into our parent communication and our broader community commission about moving forward. And as you can see on the wall, a lot of our legacy schools use symbolism quite a bit through the hallways, with the building of train tracks, with the Downie Wenjack flag, etc. But also having student material, student creations placed on the wall for in a prominent location for people to continually see. And so part of that weaving the knowledge is very important. And then if you look at the next frame we have here, we were fortunate to have Mike Downie visit our school a couple of years back, pre-COVID obviously, and work with Sarah Mazzy and Dean Yo and Gail Baker at Ridgeway Elementary, who are one of our strongest legacy schools within the North Vancouver School District, where Sarah, who is a non-Indigenous teacher, was able to bring influence to 700 students and over 100 staff at our school, the importance of honoring, but also celebrating the work of the Downie Wenjack Fund and sharing Chanie's story and also the local story within the North Vancouver. And so what she was able to organize was our Walk for Wenjack for Ridgeway Elementary. And the one proud moment for me as an Indigenous person and the survivor of a residential school person was that the entire community bought into it. And so we had the local city involved with street closures. We had the RCMP involved. We had parents involved and obviously students, and they raised close to $3,500 for the Downie Wenjack Fund, just organizing this walk. And the picture in the middle is also a connection from the Downie Wenjack Fund to St. Paul's Indian Residential School here in North Vancouver to the Kamloops Indian Residential School. So as we all know, Kamloops Indian Residential School was the first site where unmarked graves were found of children that did not make it home. And so one thing that Ridgeway Elementary did with the leadership of Sarah and Gail was that they were able to bring understanding to not only to her class, but the entire school population of how this was part of the 2015 TRC report, where there was mention in the report that there were unmarked graves at several residential schools across the country. And so Sarah's class created a heart symbol with the language of Chen Chen Sui on it, which means we're in this together. And so we delivered this to the site of Kamloops Indian Residential School to help continue to honor the children that never made it home. And so I think in the quick presentation here, I think it's very important for schools, for teachers in schools, to ensure that you're not isolated in your school as a legacy school classroom, because you want to be a legacy school where your entire school is participating. And I think that's one thing that Sarah and Gail and the North Van School District have done well, of acknowledging that this is a school-wide initiative, and for everyone to be on board on ensuring that Chanie's story is shared and Gord's story is shared, and also the local history is shared, because part of the role of the Downie Wenjack Fund is to ensure that there are numerous resources for all classrooms. And I'm lucky enough to be on the Education Advisory Board along with Sarah, and part of us is want to continue to move our country forward. And so we like to share our knowledge. So after this presentation, if you want to reach out to us in North Vancouver and want us to share information, we're more than willing to do that. So thank you for the time. And so I get the pleasure to introduce Andrea as the next presenter. I've met Andrea before, and so I'm looking forward to hearing her speak. And so she comes to St. Bonaventure Catholic Elementary School in Ontario. So over to you, Andrea.
Thank you, Brad. It's nice to see you again. Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon for those of you that are on the West Coast. I just want to take a quick moment. Harriet, I was thinking about you today, and I thought that we are just so blessed that out of all professions that you could have chosen, that you are an educator. And I just thought today, as I was walking through my hallways, we're just so lucky as educators to have such direct, authentic experience to the Downie Wenjack Fund. And on behalf of all educators that are here this evening, I just want to express my heartfelt gratitude that this is your calling. It's so clear, and that you are so willing. Every time I get to listen to you, I learn so much, and I am just overcome with humility and compassion, and so thankful that education found you, and that you are so willing to share with us, because we have so many opportunities to learn, especially those of us who are non-Indigenous, from you. And I just had that moment of clarity today, like, of all professions, she's a teacher. Like, how lucky are we? So I just wanted to share that with you as I got started this evening. And thank you to Lisa for inviting me to be a part of this. As Brad and Harriet, our school has also been involved with the Downie Wenjack Fund from a very early time, and I have the benefit this evening of being able to share with you just what's inside your educator pack. So these are always really exciting days for me, even though this is the third or fourth year of getting one of these beautiful booster kits, these educator packs. But I have the benefit of being able to share with you just what you're going to find inside tonight. So over the next couple of slides, Lisa knows how much I love being outside in my backyard. So I took my box outside with me and I opened it up and sat on the grass. So these are literally photos from my backyard, the things that are included. And I've just pulled a couple of them just to share with you tonight before I share some student testimonials from St. Bonaventure School. So this is a relatively new piece, but the calendar, and it's huge this year. It's an absolutely beautiful calendar. And I know on the Educator Advisory Panel, we spoke about the importance of even including the lunar moons, the 13 lunar moons. And the visual of the turtle shell on the back. So if you have not had a chance to unpack your calendar, I always like to laminate my things. So if you have the benefit of having a laminator at your school, it just keeps everything in such good shape. And then if you're like me in Ontario and you've just been through reorganization where you've had to move classrooms again and again, then you can very safely take down these very important pieces that help you to set up your school for a successful year in working as a legacy school. But this is a really important piece that I just wanted to be able to highlight. The Walk for Wenjack poster, I know that Jessica led a beautiful Walk for Wenjack initiative last week on DWF Live. So if you didn't have a chance to see that, by all means, all of these presentations are collated to go back and look at again, to share with other staff, to share with your administrator. This is a really great provocation actually for your students. So we really like to focus on inquiry. We really like to focus on student voice. So this is a really great opportunity to give the information that needs to come across with your students, but then allow them to be the media presenters. So when we're looking at curriculum expectations, we want to make sure that our learning is embedded in our curriculum as professionals. That's what we are called to do. And then as our passion projects and coming from the Catholic elementary school system, working with our virtues programs, this is where I begin. And I look at how can I get student voice involved in these projects. They know how passionate I am at my school, but it's not my project, it's the student projects. And one of the things I have actually pictured here is the flag. I don't have the flag here because my students just made a bulletin board with it yesterday. So I wasn't really thinking about using the flag for this, but we had a beautiful presentation for Orange Shirt Day, and the children were making these beautiful orange hearts with these very strong messages on them. You are special, you are loved, with these beautiful logos. And I thought I need something to ground these beautiful hearts. And our Wenjack, our Gord Downie Chanie Wenjack Fund flag is now the basis of this beautiful student-led bulletin board right at the front of our school. I also have my administrator buying an indoor flag pole for our flag to hang on instead of it being in a classroom or in an office. It needs to be somewhere where it's seen, where it's front and center, where that conversation can start. So if you have an opportunity to do more with your flag, I specifically moved into the planning time role this year because, as Brad said, it's about building community, building capacity. I was housing my legacy school class per se with my grade 6s and 7s, and it was really impactful for 25 of them. And then it was impactful for the next year's 25. And although we did initiatives that were of benefit to the entire school, and to benefit of, let's say, the Brampton Public Library, we have really great community partners. I went to my administrator and I said, we have to reach more children. We have to reach more families. We need to reach more schools. So I've actually moved into the planning time role this year where we can do divisional wide initiatives. So my entire division, grade 1s, grade 2s, grade 3s, remote grade 1s are now all working on Orange Shirt Day together. In the month of October, when we move on to empathy, the virtue of empathy, everyone is moving over to that. Every classroom has a different role to play. And then the entire presentation is for the benefit of the school community, our families, our community partners, the Downie Wenjack Fund. So when you're planning these initiatives, your reconciliACTIONs, and you're really trying to think about capacity. How can I build capacity? Even as a beginning teacher, who's on staff that I can call that can help me? Can I give Andrea a quick email? Brad has offered his contact information. We really want to build that community, that network, even if I'm in Ontario and you are not, we're all in this together. As Harriet said, so lovingly, I got so teary, we are an extension of these families. So as a family, we are here to connect with each other. We don't just send our students off and say, go do your project. We check in with them. We ask, how are you doing? How can I help you? So as great educators, you're already here doing the right thing. You've already committed to being a great legacy school educator. We just want to be able to enhance that. We can actually go on to the next slide. I don't want to take up too much time. I'm actually going to let Ethan, who is a grade 8 student at St. Bonaventure School, have an opportunity to speak. And then Mariella, who is in grade 7 this year, is also going to have an opportunity to speak about her experience. And if they're not going to go, that's okay. I'm going to just keep talking, and maybe if it works, great. If not, not a big deal. We can always go on the fly. We can be spontaneous. One of the other pieces of my very short presentation this evening. Oh, there's Ethan. We'll see.
To do something means to put yourself out there, even when it may be hard, scary, or overwhelming. Do something can also mean to apply yourself and do the right thing. Gord's words, do something, means to put yourself out there, even when it may be hard, scary, or overwhelming. Do something can also mean to apply yourself and do the right thing.
Thank you. One of the other pieces I just wanted to talk about quickly before, I know the video was really quiet. So maybe that's something that once it's posted later on, you can go back and have a check. When we recorded it on Thursday as well, there was quite a bit of wind in the back. I was trying to keep them away from the rest of the recess kids. They were kind of like my VIP students that day. So it was a bit noisier on that side, but hopefully as you finagle with it on your own time, it works for you. One of the other pieces I just wanted to quickly touch base on that is included in your pack is your reconciliation guide. Even if you have been with the Chanie Wenjack Fund in the previous years, this is always updated. And as Lisa said, it's more than doubled in its size and in its components. So there are crucial pieces to enlivening, enhancing, extending projects that you've done in the past, or if there's a project that you saw here tonight that you want to follow up a little bit more on, or just to have an idea of where do I even start as an educator? I want to do the right thing. I want to become involved in this. Where do I even begin to think about what a reconciliation can look like? And then my last slide, even my son was picking up on these on the way home from school tonight, are just some student swag. So we have been very graciously granted quite a few armbands. I think Lisa also mentioned buttons and pencils. Every year it's a little bit different. I don't like to just hand these out and say, oh, by the way, this is what this is. I usually use it as some sort of consolidation piece. So if we had built a beautiful bulletin board and maybe we're having a bit of a sharing circle, as Harriet showed us earlier, then this would be an opportunity to do some sharing. Oftentimes I even find that students will go home and they'll want to give it to someone else. And I'll say, okay, we'll do that, but then make sure you share Chanie's story as well. Make sure you share what we're doing at school so that it doesn't just become another armband that is then on their wrist. And if by chance this is being disposed of, just from an environmental standpoint, that it is being cut before it goes in so that it's not injuring any animals on the other side, please. So I just wanted to add that in this evening. And last but not least, there was just a quick picture, a couple of pictures there. Don't forget that in your lap book, you also have an individual code to the music for Secret Path. And so many of our initiatives start with the art. So with maybe looking at a specific song or song lyric or picture, that's one of my favorite pictures. My son, that's the song that always gets to me. And even when William Prince sings it, I'm a complete mess. So I often start with the songs, even Lisa's showing me. But remember that you do have access to a code for all of the songs on Secret Path. It's definitely time to move on to our next presenter. So I'm very happy to present Patricia Miller, who is from the First Nation Education Lead on the farther side of the country. It's probably quite dark where you are now, Patricia.
Getting there. Thank you, Andrea. I appreciate the invitation to speak here on the things that we're doing in Anglophone School District North. We decided to do kind of a legacy district, so I'll get to that in a minute. We've been doing reconciliation pieces in our school district since about 2015. We had a First Nation education team put together. Our school district is quite wide, so they were in the Miramichi-Rexton area of our school district, and in our area there wasn't anybody as part of that team, so they hired me and I came along and joined in on the team. So what has been going on since 2016, when I joined in, we really started in on a lot of the teaching practices, and ensuring that teachers and students knew about residential schools, and doing all kinds of different things around Orange Shirt Day. So over the years, it wasn't just Orange Shirt Day that we were doing. As you can see, we've done flag raising of the Mi'kmaq Grand Council flag in our schools. So we now have, I do believe, 4 or 5 schools who have the flag. We've done book studies and in community engagements with residential school survivors. We're doing treaty education. We have lots of professional learning going on for our teachers. We've had Maui-Omis or powwows for our students, and we did a powwow for every school in our school district. So that was quite an undertaking, but it turned out to be an amazing teaching experience for the students, and they still talk and ask for when there's coming. And of course, we do a lot of resource sharing from our team about giving any kind of resources that we can so that teachers have what they need. So we'll go to the next one. So I do believe we had 10 to 12 schools in our school district signed up to become legacy schools. And we had 2 who took on really large projects under their the DWF. We went to the Inspire conference, and they both got their DWF toolkit package, and then they took that back and then they did projects with them. We have an elementary school teacher who took on the Spirit Bear program under the First Nation Caring Society. So she's done that, and she incorporated, so you see the black bear with the regalia. He was the very first bear in our district, and he was in a grade 1 class. And the teacher, Jennifer Winchester, did an amazing project with him, and he has been in her class now for 3 years, and the students all know him and love him and treat him with great respect. He's become just a member of the classroom. So she did a whole naming ceremony and everything. We invited elders from the local community to come in and share their knowledge in teaching and singing and drums. So the students knew right off the start that this bear was of importance, and he's kept that same importance all these years. And we are expanding that into other schools. We have 3 other schools who have taken that on. And then our superintendent has agreed to make sure that every school in our district has a Spirit Bear program put in place for the next few years. So that's coming. And then Tim Sullivan at the Miramichi Valley High, he took his toolkit from the same Inspire program, and he went back and he ran with it. He did all kinds of projects within his classroom and invited community elders to come in and share teachings with the students. And then he partnered with the grade 3 class. So he took his grade, I think it was grade 10, 11 students, and he partnered with the grade 3 class, and they came together and they did teachings, and the high school students helped the younger students, as you can see, and they made dream catchers and stuff. So there's all kinds of teachings that have been going on. And if you go to the next. But it was just a few schools. My dogs are going to make noise. It was just a few schools that were doing it. So last year, Lisa and her team had contacted me about becoming a legacy district, and I thought it was an amazing idea. So I contacted my team, well, not my team, our First Nation education team, and I brought the idea forward, and we all agreed that it was an amazing partnership that we could go forward. So we've been working with Lisa since last year on doing this, and I have to say today we are very excited that we had our very first professional learning for teachers for this, and we have 30 educators who are going to champion. So we have 1 in each school, And today they had a PL session and they got their toolkits. And as you can see in the pictures, they opened up and unpacked their very first toolkit. And they got to sit and discuss some of the future plans that they have, some of the things that they've already been doing for acts of reconciliation, but also just to find out where they are on their journey of reconciliation, because we all know everybody's in a different place and it's quite a large journey. So we were sure to tell them to be, gentle on themselves, because we can't all get it right all at the same time, and we can't all be doing the exact same thing at the same time. So that was our main message. So we're going to ensure that everybody next week, and sorry, on my picture, our date is wrong, but we're fixing that. So September 27th to the October 1st of the Truth and Reconciliation Week, we are encouraging all of our education staff to utilize the resources that come along with that and start off their acts of reconciliation with a challenge. So we've spent all of these past years doing the teaching portion and making sure that everybody knows about residential schools, and then and what they were and the impacts they had on them. So now we're asking, what can they do as educators and as classroom teachers and as schools? So we're really excited to put on this reconciliation challenge and really get to see what teachers are doing. And one of the things we're trying to incorporate is that they actually share what they're doing. As we know, educators they go and they do all these amazing things, but they don't necessarily shout it to the world. So now we're trying to make them shout it to the world, because it's really important for everybody to see what's going on. And it really does help make that connection with community. And I think that's one of the greatest outcomes of this project is going to be, is creating that, strengthening the community engagement. So that's it for us. And we want to thank you so much for partnering with us, Lisa.
Thank you. Thanks, Patty. And I'm sorry about the technical glitch there. I was trying to get full screen, and so that was my fault. I apologize. So just to recap, there's lots of things going on at different schools throughout Canada. Really, we encourage you just to, read the resources, get educated, and really just try to take actions and reconciliACTIONs. These are some examples from Range Lake North School in Northwest Territories. We have Wager Adult School in Quebec City, have done some fantastic work with their students, developing murals in their hallways and really just trying to engage and inform. They had an artist ambassador with Maze Longboat, who created a video game about first contact. We also now have clubs and groups, so some of you might be youth workers. You don't even have to be just a school anymore. We've opened up the program, so if you're engaged in working with youth, we really encourage you to take advantage of the resources and really work with your youth to do something. Like everybody has mentioned tonight, it's really important to engage community. And our hope is that, adults and youth and parents, everybody can be talking and learning and really moving reconciliation forward in a meaningful way. As we are approaching the first federally recognized Day for Truth and Reconciliation, after that, the conversations shouldn't end. They should continue all the time, all year long, in every curriculum, in every classroom. But following that, we do have a lot of events coming up in October for Secret Path Week, which honors the passing of Gordon and Chanie. There'll be a lot of virtual live events with different Indigenous artists and scientists and activists, and some language lessons. So please check our socials and our newsletter if you're interested in joining with your classes and your youth groups. And now I'll open it up for questions. So if anyone has any questions out there, anyone in our panel would be happy to answer your questions for you. Does anyone have any questions?
I can see one in the chat here was just asking from Ian, was just curious about how the album download off the graphic novel, how to do that.
Andrea, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, because I know that would have done it the first year that I had a pack, but I'm also thinking that I probably wasn't using the downloads at the very beginning because I didn't have a pack. And I don't remember having an issue, but I mean, that's been like 3 years. So I'm not sure, to be honest. I feel badly that I can't answer that directly because I don't remember having an issue with it, but I will definitely take another look and try on one of my my new packs that I have and just see, and then I can always message Lisa and see if we can maybe post that somewhere in case someone's having a problem. Maybe that can just be a part of our Q&A on the website.
Yeah, we can totally do that.
Okay, thanks.
We have another question here from Laura as well, asking what the youngest age group that you can share the secret path with.
I know that we've done middle school. We haven't hit into the elementary yet, but I do believe we are going to try it out. When we first started our work, nobody really wanted to do residential schools with the elementary, and I was like, yep, it can be done. So we found ways to, tone down, I guess, the harsher portions of the material, and we introduced it to schools. And now I have to say 100% of our schools have taken on Orange Shirt Day. So we want to try to incorporate the secret path into this as well to make sure that even the younger grades get it. So we're not there yet, but we are going to put it in place. But middle school for sure can take on these.
I just started with my grade 1s, my 2s, and my 3s at the very first day of school in Ontario, the Tuesday after Labor Day. And we have been talking about human dignity because that really is what this is about. So students have come to school and have told me their name and told me how to pronounce it properly. So as if their parent was pronouncing it at home, not the way I would anglicize it. We have a very large Nigerian population in Brampton at my particular school. And oftentimes the students come to school and are told that this is how to tell your English speaking teacher how to say your name, which is wrong. So we're trying to work with families as well to allow us to learn with their child and to have their child teach us how to say their name the way that they have been named. They have beautiful cultural practices and naming ceremonies that I'm learning about a variety of different ethnicities. So we're just starting with children's names and how to say their name and how important your name is, what your name story is. And families are becoming really involved with that. And I'm learning different languages and different culture practices. So it's very, very simple at the very beginning. This is the first time I'm doing this. We just happen to also have an Orange Shirt Day primary webinar with a local elder. It went a little bit faster than I thought maybe that it might have gone. But we're in it now and we're having very difficult conversations. I'm also working with a local singer-songwriter, and the students are writing a song titled Every Child Matters. And that is based on 2 weeks worth of work, looking at every child in our classroom does matter. Because we know their name stories. We know that they are loved and cared for by someone, whether they are adopted, whether that happens to be a grandparent, an elder sibling, a pet, someone loves them before they come to school, and family is first teacher. So that's really what we're trying to focus on right now. And as it evolves, we will get to Chanie's story. And I'm very excited to see what that looks like. I'm taking it very slowly. I'm taking it by listening to students and what they are prepared for. And I'm also okay with saying, I don't know, we'll have to figure that out together. So I would implore you to be humble, go slowly, but start with what the kids know. They have beautiful names. Chanie has a beautiful story, and he had a name before he was named Charlie. And that is important to his legacy and to his own story.
Harriet, you're on mute.
Story of my life. This is my students told me all last year. My daughter was 6'7" when she was introduced to, like, she heard little bits, but there were certain parts that we didn't share with her, but she understood how the story was about her Cookum's little brother. So she would read the secret path, she would sing the song. And so she would bring that part of the story to her classmates. And I've seen the secret path in her classroom. So I understand that in teaching it. And yes, you have to think of the spirit and the age of the children when you're sharing that all the time. I often, even with older students as well, I often, would think about how I'm going to present it. And one story I begin with is Shishieko. It's a good lead in to how I can guide where I'm going to go depending on the age group of my students, and being aware, because when they find out that I'm part of the story, they're full of emotion, and then, they want to come and speak to me. And so I'm so aware of, that I have to think about how it's going to impact them, as well as I think it's important that we do that they understand the whole history. But I also think about the age of the children, and I will use other resources with the secret path as well. So I've done that.
You're on mute, Lisa.
Was there any more questions from anyone?
Hi, it's Brad. Can I just answer the question from Laura about parent communication? I know in our school district in North Vancouver and probably across the province of BC, when we start digging into Indian residential schools, we do send information over to the parents. And part of the information we send to the parents is what we're going to talk about. Also a list of resources where they can learn from too, because many of the parents in our district probably have minimal knowledge around Indian residential schools. So we ensure that we provide them with resources where they can talk to the kids when they get home after we've talked about it.
It looks like there was another question as well from Sandra asking about if there's any grants or funding that can help schools in purchasing resources like books to share with their schools and classes.
Your librarian, Sandra, is a really great place to start with. I know they were given a bit of a grant actually for Dufferin Peel, which Sandra's a part of. They were given a grant in the spring, and my librarian came to me and said, is there a really great list that you can share with me? So we looked together at the Chanie Wenjack Fund, because the list is updated quite a bit. And then Dufferin Peel at least has what's known as an equity lead, and your equity lead, Sandra, would also have some really great resources. If you don't have an equity lead, or that person has maybe moved along, I can definitely help you. I have an actual online tab in a Google Classroom just for staff on equity resources, and many of those would be Indigenous based.
We do try to update the resources too. So if we do find any good resources or like funding that might become available, we do try to post that on our website as well. But it really just, like Andrea said, reaching out to your equity leads at your school board if you have one, or just, searching for community events and communities that are possibly funding things is always a good way. We are almost about to wrap up. It is almost 7 o'clock. So if we haven't been able to get to any of your questions, we would be happy to answer them. You can always reach out to us through email at staff@downiewenjack.ca. We're here to help you and support you in any way we can, because this is a journey that we're all into together. Harriet, did you have any last words that you'd like to say?
Okay, I muted myself. Other than the fact that knowing that we are on this journey together, and reaching out, our best PDI, I would say our best help is fellow teachers. reaching out to, we have different school districts that are online today, and just reaching out to fellow educators. I'm constantly, my best PD is always a fellow educator, whether I'm trying to understand something or learn something, or, just looking at the different displays that are out there. We're just like, I'm like, oh, that's amazing. That's what they're doing. It just gives you more, you want to even do further. You want to build, and, that's what I say, just reach out to your fellow educators and know that this is a journey that we walk on, and we walk together, and, just be authentic and, be yourself, and understand that, yes, it's at times a very, very painful journey, because as educators, we do make those, and we do have those very difficult discussions with our students, and just be aware of that as well too. So I just want to wish everyone well. Today I'm so reminded of just the importance of what we do. My father-in-law passed away a few days. I'm actually on my way up to the island, and he's passed without sharing his story. So we have these untold stories as well that we have to honor, and we honor them by the work that we do as educators, and educating and creating awareness and teaching our students, but also reaching out and reaching into those community and the families and making those community connections. So I honor him today and being able to be on today, and my thoughts are with him and the many untold stories that I just carry and hold, that I'll always carry and hold whenever I speak. And I want to thank everyone for taking the time to come out and, listening and being online, and for the presenters as well. I really thank you for the work that I see you're doing. It just, it makes me feel good in that what we're doing. I want to thank you for that. Hey, Rich.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we'll be sending out a recording of this session tomorrow for anyone who missed it. Good night.